Welcome to WagerTalk TV. Kelly Stewart here. This is WagerTalk's last call where we go over some last minute bets before the games kick off here in an hour. We're starting off with Jeff Michaels, Drew Martin hanging out here in the middle, talking some college football. Andy Lang picking it up with some NFL prop bets. I'm going to bring in Jeff here first. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to bring in Drew here first. I had it backwards. Drew Martin bets. I tailed you on Vandy plus 10 today. I stole that from your Golden Nugget card. We're not going to get into that, though. We're going to get into a couple other games that, frankly, were not on my radar. Ohio FAU? Okay, tell me why I need to be paying attention to this over.
A little MAC school going down to Florida Atlantic. It could interest some here, Kelly, but I get it. It's not one of the bigger games. Hey, we can hit some of those if you want. But really, I'm going after this total, Kelly. And a lot of people, Ohio, thinking a MAC team, maybe they'll have trouble. I actually think their offense will be able to put up some points here down in Boca Raton. Their quarterback, Rourke, I actually think he'll be able to play, even if he's not able to. Remember how many games they won down the stretch last year, including their bowl game with their backup quarterback. And I love going after the metrics in terms of pace of play, how quickly offenses move. And remember, they played San Diego State in week 0. San Diego State, I have pinned as an under team. That's a good defense, and they move very slow. But Ohio, to this point in the season, they're one of the top 15 offenses in terms of seconds in between snaps. It's just over 20 seconds in between each snap. So that's top 15 in the country. They move very quickly, and they're going up against the Florida Atlantic Owls. I don't think the market's fully in tune with what they're doing offensively. Now, they just played an FCS school, but their quarterback, Casey Thompson, went 20 of 25 with 5 touchdowns. This is Todd Herman now at FAU. He can coach up the offenses. They move quickly as well. So seeing this total in the low 60s here, 61 was available late last night. Looks like it might have popped up a little bit, guys. But I wouldn't be surprised, Kelly, if both of these two teams get up into the 40s. I think this gets way up and over. Looks like clear skies, hot night here in South Florida. So I'm up and over in Ohio FAU tonight, Kelly. Looks like Kelly's muted here, guys, but it is a little Saturday morning special here. So I'll go with the next game, JMU and Virginia. We get a in-state group of 5 team, -6-point favorites at Virginia, the Power 5 team from the ACC. I think the market is absolutely telling us something here, guys. I'm jumping with it. Somebody knows something. JMU, the Dukes, -6-point road favorites. Look, they're just 1 year removed from being at the FCS level in college football. Now laying almost a touchdown. They return all 5 offensive line starters. The best defensive front in the group of 5 by a lot of people, coming into this season. And last year, by some metrics, the number 1 defense in the group of 5. But actually, by some metrics, the number 1 defense in college football. So an in-state battle, punching up in class, going up against Virginia, who just got blown out by Tennessee. If you watch that game, Virginia's offense really struggled. Their quarterback got banged up as well. We saw this number move from -3.5. That was JMU, the Dukes, as the favorite, up to as high as -6.5. Looking at the Wager Talk live odds screen, guys, you can shop around. -6 is widely available. I know that there's a lot coming in with with what happened in the offseason at Virginia, and some people pointing towards like emotional Virginia in Charlottesville. I don't really like betting on that type of kind of profile. So look, I'm going with the more talented roster here, the better game plan coming in, the coaching advantage in my opinion. No offense to Tony Elliott's squad, but JMU very well coached. So, hey, it's a group of 5 team, Power 5 team, in-state rival. I think the market's telling us something, guys. JMU -6, Kelly, is what I'm going with in this one.
Drew, apologies for the tech issues on this beautiful Saturday morning. Make sure you guys do your job. Jump in the chat, ask our experts some questions. Drew, I want to pivot back to the Ohio game. One of the perks of my job is that I get privy to some of the sharp information. Sharp Group came in, Ohio +5, yet on the WagerTalk odds screen, we never really saw it move. Did you have an opinion in regards to a side, or mainly just cheering for both teams to have a lot of fun?
Kelly, week 0, I went against Ohio and was on San Diego State. I would actually look to do the same thing here. I know, if you follow Wager Talk, like on Instagram, there'll be some, pretty good against the spread kind of statistics out there. And one of them is early in the season, the MAC conference, when they play out of conference, obviously, which they are here, look to kind of fade them, Kelly. And it really comes down to, it is about the X's and O's, but it's also about the Jimmies and the Joes. And usually the MAC conference is up against it from a talent perspective. I think they're going to be up against it from a talent perspective here. You look at FAU's roster top to bottom. You look at Ohio's roster top to bottom. Granted, if Curtis Rourke plays for Ohio, he's he's the offensive player of the year. That is going to help them, and we will see a move when that's confirmed, or we can confirm that he's not playing. But really, Kelly, give me the better roster here with FAU. And again, it kind of comes back correlated with the total. I don't think people realize how good this Owls offense is just yet under Todd Herman. So I wouldn't be surprised if FAU covers the number at home.
All right. We got a question here in the chat box. To the Bank wants to know Notre Dame against NC State. I know NC State must be very familiar with that Notre Dame quarterback. Drew Martin bets NC State made my 3-team money line parlay, and Twitter is not very happy with me this morning. I have not gotten one person in agreement with me, but maybe To the Bank agrees with me. Do you think the Wolfpack have a shot here to spring the upset?
Oh, do they have a shot? Sure, absolutely. But I'll tell you this, Kelly, and I know, at this point in the season, the sports better in me doing this for like my 9th year now. Oh my gosh, is my straight job since I got into this. But you learn to look for overreactions. I know you know this as well. Is Notre Dame an overreaction? It could be. That's what kept me off of Notre Dame. But I'll tell you this, Kelly, they look good, and coming into this season, Sam Hartman, I think you can make the argument he's the best college quarterback, not projected into the NFL, but playing in college in the country. Their offensive line has looked good. If he's getting a bunch of time to throw the ball and NC State can't get pressure on him, I don't know. I don't want to step in front of this Irish, but at the same time, it goes back to, I know you've brought this up on other shows that we've done, overreactions. Could it be? Absolutely. That's what kept me off of it. So, hey, NC State at home. Plus, I saw a statistic. I don't know if you saw this. What Notre Dame, it's either 28 or 31. I can't remember. Straight regular season wins against ACC teams. You know how they're not fully in the ACC, but it's kind of like friends with benefits type thing. And they have dominated the ACC since this started. So that's something
They
I keep in mind as well.
have, Drew.
The average.
Very,
Yeah.
very good point. Listen, it was slim pickings for me with dogs. I knew I couldn't pick so many gross dogs like I did last week. So I was like, all right, I got to put some Power 5 schools in the mix to couple with Texas Tech. I looked at Temple. I looked at San Diego State. There was quite a few, but I appreciate your insight. Let's just hope NC State can get a cover for me, right? That's all I got to ask for. Maybe a shot outright. That's what we do here on Wager Talk. Looking for outright winners on a Saturday morning. Thank you to Drew. Make sure you guys are giving him a follow. 5-0. That's a 20% profit this year on his 4% college football sides, 24-14 overall in college football since October of last year. Get Drew's all access for just $29 today. 8 college football plays on that card. Next up, we're going to bring in Jeff Michaels. We're going to pivot to some NFL. Jeff Michaels, welcome in. JM Sports CLE on Twitter. I'm finally going to get that right, Jeff. Welcome in, son of the stat daddy who I do bet on it with. Jeff, talk to me about this under. I traditionally like to go under in divisional matchups week 1, but you're going 49ers Steelers under 41.5.
Yeah, I am. I agree with you in the divisional look, but here you look at 2 teams in week 1 over the last 10 years, and it's hard to find 2 teams that are more convincingly under from the rip. I mean, combined in the last 16 week 1 games, These two teams are 3-13 over under and 41 points per game combined in those games. I mean, it did kind of stand out to me. Pittsburgh has actually never played week one at home at Heinz Field. The last time they played week one at home was in 2014, and the field was actually Acrisure Stadium. I may fudge that, but it wasn't Heinz Field at the time. So they haven't played a home game in week one in years, but they are 6-3 over under in their last 9 at home. But that inexperience there in that situation is something that makes me not too concerned with that trend there. And you look at what San Francisco's got back. I mean, their defensive line obviously has improved more than any defensive line really in the last 2 or 3 days, with the reacquiring of Nick Bosa after that holdout. I think that's going to be huge there. You know, there is a little bit of inexperience between these two teams, or not knowing each other, I should say, you know, with that interconference or outside the AFC NFC matchup. So I do think that not knowing your opponent is a little bit of a difference here in week one. And I think both of these teams are a little more reliant on their defenses. So I'm riding week one, continue that under trend for both of these teams. You get 2-7, 2-8, and 3-7 in the last 20 years combined is a number that I'm definitely riding with.
All right, remember, guys, jump in the chat box if you have a question for Jeff. And while we're on this matchup, Jeff, Steelers has gotten a little trendy. It's making me nervous. I did play it in a couple of my contest selections, left it off of my card. But do you have an opinion on the side here?
You know, I think San Francisco has a lot to come out here and prove, and I think that they're ready for it. You know, I find it hard to believe that Bosa hasn't been out preparing for the season, obviously, and they got their quarterback back. Purdy was a difference maker. So, you know, I would be a little bit hesitant, but Pittsburgh's got a hard division to face. So I think they come out swinging in the first couple of weeks here and try and get an early jump on the season. So I think you got a fighting Pittsburgh team against a better San Francisco team, in my opinion. But I think it's going to be a close one. I am sticking with the total here. I'd probably have to lean Pittsburgh, but not a very strong lean, in my opinion, on the side.
Yeah, looking here at the WagerTalk odds screen, currently twos at a couple of sharper books. Our friends over at Superbook and South Point, even Circa's at 2. The rest of the market pretty much at 2.5. I think this is a great teaser spot for the Steelers, and that's probably where I'm going to stay. All right, Jeff, next up, we're going to pivot back to college football. Not even going to lie to you guys. I didn't even look at this game. New Mexico State, week 0, just absolutely killed me. I mentioned Jeff's dad. He runs a college football pool with all of us at WagerTalk. $1,000 buy-in, and I basically already lost because we drafted some really disgusting teams. New Mexico State being one of them. They face Liberty today. They are currently a 10-point underdog. Jeff, why in the world do you like this team?
You know, I've been looking at it. You and Drew mentioned that, you know, overlook or overthinking spot excuse me, let's back up. This team has actually had a couple pretty good offensive performances. If you don't look at the wins and the losses of the team, they did lose, like you said, week 1 against UMass, but take away those wins and their losses. Week 1, or their first game, 458 yards and 30 points. Their second game, 651 yards and 58 points. Now, I know that second game was against Western Illinois, but they're playing Liberty this week, who, back to that MAC conference that, you know, the Jimmies and the Joes that we were talking about before there, Bowling Green is no impressive feat that Liberty took down. They only put up 391 yards. Now, I say only because Liberty has kind of been relying on their offensive mobile quarterbacks. They're, you know, a couple names that we've actually heard the last couple of years out of the smaller school. But I think that New Mexico State's offense has the advantage here. And these two teams actually matched up last season as well. And New Mexico State absolutely dominated that game. It was 49-14. They outgained the Flames by 115 yards, and they were +2 in the turnover differential. So, I know they took that loss against UMass, but I really think that they found the ability to kind of turn it around in the second game. And while they've shown, some weaknesses, they've also shown some strengths in a couple different spots between the two games. They've shown the ability to run, they've shown the ability to pass. They just can't seem to get it together in the same game so far. I think they got a shot to do it tonight and getting 10 points with New Mexico State against Liberty. And this is actually a 2% play for me on my card today.
All right, Jeff, giving out client plays here for free on Last Call. Just need you guys to jump in the comment section, ask some of our guys some questions, and we have one here in the chat box for Jeff. Jeff, on that side note of the New Mexico State Aggies, man, if they can win that game outright, I would be very happy. Ooh, does anyone like Minnesota minus 20.5 against Eastern Michigan? I got a play from Bet on it when VR rattled off all the sharp plays. They played the under. I can tell you that much. Minnesota was not impressive to me, Jeff, in their win over Nebraska last week. Offensively, I'm not sure what PJ Fleck's team was doing. Granted, I would say that Nebraska has a better defense than probably most teams in the Big Ten. We're going to see how that one plays out here against Colorado. But any thoughts on Minnesota, Eastern Michigan?
Last year you would have asked me, I would have said that the Big Ten was one of the best conferences in football. Right now, week 2, I don't really want to touch a Big Ten team with a 10-foot pole, and that includes my Ohio State Buckeyes. I would be agreeing with the under, and I think solely based off of that, if you don't think this is a high-scoring game like me, I'd be looking at taking 20 points. I'm really not looking at who who Minnesota's playing here. I don't think that they really have the ability to score enough to cover a 20-point spread, almost regardless of who they're playing here. So not a play on my card, but I'd be taking 20 points in a game that I don't think is going to have a whole lot of scoring.
I was trying to see if I even had any notes on this game because that is just, it's one of those spots where you can't. You're right. It's either take the points, look for the scrappy team maybe to keep it within 3 touchdowns or pass. But like I said, Sharp Group likes the under. Thank you to Jeff. Jeff has been an intricate part of our success here at WagerTalk. Oh, wait, I guess I got one more question in my ear. Let's get this one answered for Jeff. All right, Chosen One, Raiders, a really public dog this week. Do we think Jimmy G and crew can come into Denver barking? Jeff, I'm a Broncos fan, so I'm going to jump in after you answer. What are your thoughts on the Raiders at Broncos?
I think that they got a shot to come in, but these are two teams, honestly, that I'd probably be looking to go against in week 1. And not saying that for the entirety of the season, but they square up against each other here in the first week. I'm probably leaning towards a more experienced quarterback here, which would give me Russell Wilson. But I think that these are two teams that I would have been fading week 1 had they not been playing against each other. So leaning Broncos, but I don't think this one's going to make my card, but definitely exciting game that I'm going to be watching this weekend, no question.
Oh, I don't think it's going to be exciting at all. I bet the under. I did one of my contests, Jeff. I took the Raiders. I understand they look like to be a trendy dog. Do you remember when Jimmy G went into Denver last year? Denver got the outright win, but as an underdog. Look, there's been some interesting comments coming out of Denver. As a Denver fan, I'm excited to see what Sean Payton can do, but pretty sure he just told Russell Wilson to stop kissing babies and focus on football. I'm not sure that they fixed all of their woes just yet. Jimmy G, while albeit sometimes is not that impressive, I think this is going to be a lot closer game. I could see this being a, 21-20 type final, 24-21. Las Vegas gets the backdoor cover. Look, Denver and Russell Wilson, I think I made a joke on video that I could throw the ball farther than he could. And that's because he averaged 5.9 yards per pass last year. Like that's a rushing stat. But this is per pass attempt. Russell Wilson, absolute utter garbage. And I stand by that until I see otherwise. We're looking to see if we could find Andy Lang, but no Andy. So we're going to close it out. I will say this. Our producer Joe did chime in with Eastern Michigan as a stat 32-9-2 against the spread as an underdog of 2 points or more. I may just have to add them to my card at this point. But here's what we got for Andy, because he's not here. So I'm just going to give out, hopefully, some of his premium plays for you guys. Joe Burrow under 9.5 yards rushing. Antonio Gibson over 2.5 receptions. Commanders over 22.5 points as their team total. So even though Andy, we couldn't get him on the horn, I don't know if he had internet issues like I did this morning or mic issues, but apologies to all of you guys. Thank you for coming in, hanging out with us here on Last Call. We got about 40 minutes till kickoff. Let's cash some tickets.